How long did it take to make it? Janet, you want to?
Well, we've been here for 2 weeks. We got here 2 Mondays ago on Halloween for our first rehearsal. And, but of course, we've all been working a lot longer than that. We came here all prepared and ready to get in the room and work together to build on what we already had done as individuals and put this together as a show.
Alexis, do you want to talk about what the first day of an opera rehearsal is usually?
Of course. So the very first day of opera rehearsal, you arrive, and then the first thing we all do is we just sing through the entire show, top to bottom. And that's a pretty open rehearsal. It's the point where you don't make a bunch of decisions just yet. You leave it open. You say, okay, here is like a starting point for all of us. Where is it going to go? What is it going to become? And it's so exciting every time you get to do that because everyone comes with their own wonderful ideas, and when you start putting them all together, it becomes this wonderful puzzle piece that I think is really exciting. I also want to say that the orchestra, actually, their process is a little different. They have had 3 rehearsals to get ready for this. So they meet 3 times and then are off and running.
Wow. And that first rehearsal for the singers is, they have to be memorized by that first day of rehearsal. So they come the first day, we do a whole run of the opera, and it's already memorized. So a lot of preparation on their part, like Jana said beforehand. Other questions? Right here.
Are any of you guys fluent in Italian? And if not, how was it learning Italian for this performance?
And Frankie, maybe, or Christian?
Yeah, so to my knowledge, none of us are fluent in Italian. Question mark.
Oh, ma non parli per me.
So what we do is we have this other language entirely that most of us use to learn other languages, and it's called the International Phonetic Alphabet. It's the same thing that you would see like in a dictionary right after the word, where it tells you how to pronounce the word. So they make a similar, basically a whole other language that is only for sounds. And so we study something like that a lot of the time to get the sound of a language that we don't speak fluently correct. So we as singers, our job isn't really to speak the language, but our job is to sound like we speak the language. So if Italians were in the audience, it would sound like real Italian to them without any accents. So that's really our job. And so in the process of doing that, we do, over time, learn a lot of the language itself, as like how the structure works and what the words mean. Obviously, we know what every word means that we sing, but yeah, so we usually sing in like French, German, Spanish, Italian, Russian sometimes, English, obviously, so it would be a lot to expect all the singers to be fluent in all of those languages. So yeah, we have the International Phonetic Alphabet, which is very helpful sometimes.
Great, thank you. Other questions right here?
Did all of you start with opera, or did you start training in something else first? What was that journey like?
I started with the flute, actually, and then switched to opera. When I was in high school, I saw an opera and was in choir and decided I wanted to see what it was like, and I fell in love with it. And actually, it was a similar situation to all of you guys. I went to see my local opera company in the production of La Boheme and really fell in love with it. So yeah, I don't know if that's similar for everyone.
I grew up in a tiny town in Colorado. I never ever heard opera till I got to college, but I loved to sing. So I sang in churches, and I sang in like a pop punk band growing up, like horrible emo music. Horrible. Anyways, I got to college and I got exposed to classical music, and I was like, the amount of emotions that are in this music, I just had not seen anything comparable before. So I was in choir, I was in the plays, and then finally I got to sing with orchestra, and I said to myself, if I could literally do this every day for the rest of my life, I would die a happy person. So from no opera at all to just loving it and selling my soul to it.
One other thing that I find really interesting with opera, and I wonder if you singers agree, the main difference that opera brings to the table besides other genres of singing is that it's completely unamplified. And so it's really an amazing artistic experience because the singers are the only ones producing sound, and it goes directly from their production to your ears. There's no audio engineer or anything like that, and I think it must be a really powerful feeling for a singer, right? To be able to sing over an orchestra and you do all of that with just your voice. And we often say that like opera is the kind of Olympics of singing because it takes so much effort. But I think that that's one real special thing about opera is that unamplified sound. Right here.
What's your favorite opera?
Favorite opera that you've performed? Why don't we go down the line quickly? Ben.
I love performing the Barber of Seville. It's something I've done over 150 times, and I just enjoy it. It's fun. You get to wear disguises and be goofy and yet sing beautiful music.
Same guy wrote it, so Barber of Seville.
My favorite opera was one actually in Spanish called Florencia en el Amazonas by Catan, and it's absolutely gorgeous music. The story is a little strange, but you're basically on a boat the entire time, and there's a lot of magic, and that's what I loved about it.
I love this really weird show called The Rake's Progress, and it's in English, but it's written by a Russian composer called Stravinsky, and so all of the English text is like weirdly placed, like all of the emphasis is in the wrong syllables, and so the poetry is really beautiful though, and the story is really fun. It's about a guy that sells his soul to the devil, and the devil comes to collect, and then he goes crazy at the end. It's so fun. So yeah, I love that show.
For me, it's got to be Tosca. I mean, it's just an incredible show, top to bottom. One of these things. It was one of the very first operas that I saw, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, I have to do this. And anything that is like the genesis of your whole life, that just has to be your favorite, right?
Mine is called Lucia di Lammermoor by Donizetti. It's very dramatic. She goes crazy and sings for 30 minutes straight. And there's this amazing flute cadenza that I also love. So maybe that's why.
I have so many favorite, of course, I'm sure all of us do. But one of my favorite things to sing is from Cendrillon, which is Cinderella in French. And I have sung the fairy godmother, who actually has all this really high, crazy fast coloratura, which is kind of counterintuitive when you see the Disney bippity boppity boo, but it's pretty fun.
My favorite opera is about singing murdering clowns called I Pagliacci. It's really short, it's in Italian, and yeah, it's about clowns killing each other.
Okay, other questions from this side of the room, maybe? How about in the back? Yeah, how many octaves, you want to talk about vocal range here? Let's hear from the highest and the lowest.
Really it's like 2 working octaves that I would say I sing, or 2.5. And I sang today from like middle C to high E, which I just added in as like, in Rossini often we'll do ornaments. Thank you. And anyway, but it just depends on the voice type, and yeah, I guess. But we can sing probably more that or reach more notes than we often sing in performance, but not necessarily ones that the audience always wants to hear. So.
Yeah, usually like a solid 2 to 2.5 octave range for each voice type. Obviously, we have voice types you don't get to pick. You're born with the voice you're born with. You can train and you extend your range both directions, but you're kind of the voice types are kind of set. So we have this cast is pretty well represented because we have Janet's a soprano. We have Christina, who's a mezzo soprano, sings lower than that. Actually, Christina really can also classify maybe as a contralto sometimes. So it's a much lower voice, and then we have high tenors on stage left, and then we have our baritones on the stage right. And we no bass rolls in this opera, but a lot of these kind of comic operas have like really low bass parts as well. Other questions?
How did you all choose your specific
roles?
Oh, that's a good question. How'd you choose your roles? Short answer is they didn't. Where is the guy who chose the roles? There he is. So that is Costis Parpapas. He's our general and artistic director. Costis is in charge of planning the whole season and in charge of hiring everyone. So right now we're in the process of figuring out what next season is, and then he goes through and picks artists that he enjoys working with, and that will be right for the part. It's a really hard job, but I gotta say Costis is one of the best at it. I think he always hits it right on the head. That he's really great casting. Anything you want to add to that, Costis? How do you find people?
Well, I mean, there's so many great singers, so sometimes that's the most difficult part is to pick, because you have way too many picks for every role. But for me, they have to be superb singers that have great voices. They have to sing a tune. Then also I sort of imagine what the story is about, and I try to find people who I think their personality will match the role, and they will really make that role come alive and really make it their own, which I think our folks who did it.
And this show is pretty special because almost everyone is a California, either has California ties or is based here in California. So Ben lives here and teaches at UCSB. Christina is just moved here recently. Christian as much as an opera singer can say they live somewhere, lives in San Diego. Alexis is our only non-Californian artist and lives in Chicago. And then Ephraim's in Oakland. Jana grew up here and went to Santa Barbara. And then Matt's lived here for a few years now. And his wife went to San Marcos. Other questions? Right here.
What are your favorite parts of the show?
Favorite parts of the show?
Mine is the duet, our duet. We have such a good time.
Mine is Ben crawling through the window at the end.
Crawling downstairs.
Any other
We
favorite
have
parts?
no vision for that.
Alexis, favorite part?
I don't know. I'm gonna cop out. There's too many parts that are really enjoyable, and the thing is that from where I stand, every single time someone comes out to do an aria, it's a hello to a new person. So it's really a joy that I get to be like, and now it's Ephraim's turn, and now it's Christian's turn, and all these different moments. So I'm going to say that I like the cheese platter of the opera, a little bit of everything.
Based on the decibel level, I'm guessing your favorite was Christina's aria. Other questions? Anyone? In the back here.
Hi. I was just wondering if ever you've had a show that you've done with challenging vocals, what the process is like maintaining your voice, especially through multiple shows.
That's a great question. Taking care of ourselves is like A1, because if we don't go out and perform, we don't get paid. So, no, seriously, all of us have been on the road and living on the road. We try to eat well, we try to take care of ourselves, we drink a lot of water. If we're in, we obviously warm up and do vocal exercises every day. And also when we travel into to cold places, we'll take a humidifier and put it in our hotel room. But yeah, general health is really, really important. And as you can see, especially nowadays, we have to be pretty athletic up here. So I'm sure everybody goes to the gym or does something athletic to just stay in shape. And they're all young. When you get to my age, you got to work out to stay. But yeah, it's a great question. We all work really hard on our voices every day. It just doesn't happen. Oh, great question. Yeah. So, yeah, in general, when you do unamplified singing like this, you don't sing every day full out. And if you have rehearsals 5 days in a row, you'll do something that's called marking, which is kind of like half singing or sometimes singing down the octave, so you're not putting so much stress on your voice every day. And then usually between performances, we'll have a day off. We didn't have a day off today, but luckily, because we had a show yesterday, but it's only 90 minutes, so it's not as difficult as a lot of other like 2-3 hour operas, right?
Also, you also have an amazing for 10 in the morning. It's so good. Have time for just a few more? Yeah. Can you shout out to me? How long have you been doing this? And give it that general number of how many operas you've done.
Yeah, I think I've been doing this for 8 years. I don't know, 30 something probably. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm similar. I guess I've been singing classical music for about 12 years, and yeah, I've probably done 25 shows or so.
Yeah, went to undergrad, and I think including undergrad, did my first opera at 18, so that was a while ago.
Yeah, so for me, I started halfway through the undergrad degree, so it's been 9 years. And I've done a lot of smaller shows also, which puts my count a little higher, so I'm around 35 because of these double bills.
Yeah, similar to everyone else, about, I don't know, like 12 years or so. I would say probably around 35, 40 opera productions.
I started singing opera when I was my first role was when I was a freshman in high school. I was Il Postino, the post boy in Fanciulla del West, and I came out and screamed as loud as I could. But yeah, so lots and probably, I don't know, I'm pretty old, so you guess how many years I've been singing.
That's funny. I'm the old dude, okay? I've been doing this for 36 years. I've done 90 something roles. So I've been very fortunate and very lucky to have a fun, exciting career.
Great. Let's go back house right real quick. Okay, go ahead, on the way. Go ahead.
Are there any particular vocal warm-ups or techniques that you would recommend to a singer trying to build their own vocal stamina?
Great question. My favorite thing to do whenever I warm up is I always start with staccatos, and it's all throughout my entire voice. Like, don't just start, like, make sure it's high, low, everything in between, because it really gets your voice going in a way that is nice and what we call spontaneous. It's like you can't choose where it goes, it just goes. That's kind of my favorite thing to start with. And all my students start with it too.
Others? Other favorites?
I think going with the staccato stuff, like we actually don't focus too much, at least I don't focus too much on being loud all the time. I think more about my voice being flexible and able to do all this crazy vocal fireworks that Rossini and a lot of composers of his era require of us singers. So it's actually, for me, it's a lot more about flexibility. Like, if you're gonna go run a marathon, which it sometimes feels like, you know, you have to stretch properly, and you're not gonna start doing sprints right away. You're gonna warm up slowly and not max out your voice, just like you don't wanna max out your body, because then you get hurt. So, I don't know if that metaphor makes any sense, but.
I'll just add, like, I think also, you know, not pushing yourself too far. You know, voices change as your body changes, and you know, even I'm 31, and even a few years ago, my voice was much different than it is now, just because I'm physically different than I was. So I would say anything that you feel is extremely strenuous or tiring or anything, I would stay away from. Secondly, you really can't hear what your voice sounds like to other people. So being judgmental of your voice while you're singing is one of the worst things you can do. So anyway, find outside ears that you trust and things like that, I think are healthy choices.
Is there anything you feel that like the last 2 weeks it was hard to put on the show, like whether it be staging or singing, that was especially hard to get in 2 weeks?
Poor Christian has been like, Jana, go over there! Jana, do this! Jana, do that! And I feel sometimes like I'm standing there like singing, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do something. So, but you know, there are moments, of course, that things feel supernatural, where you know, the beats are in the music, and then some things that the director says, you have to trust me, this looks really good, I want all of you guys to do this, and we have to find our own reasons to help us remember such things and stuff.
I'm a really, really, really bad dancer. I have taken 2 years of ballet, and I'm a really bad dancer. So I went home and practiced the steps every single day after rehearsal. I was a little bit slower, but I felt pretty confident. So yeah, that just goes to show a little bit of work at a time pays off.
What about quick change?
Quick changes. They're so much fun. You have I would say that was probably the last and most stressful thing that I had to do. We have to rehearse every single one of those. So I have, you don't see them, but I had 3 people back there grabbing shirts, taking off things, like adding makeup, doing everything for me, and I just kind of stand there and I'm like, please, is it gonna happen? Is it gonna work? Is it gonna work? But we really have to kind of like. It seems like it would be really easy just to like, oh, just change your clothes, right? No, especially quickly, it's amazing how everything can go wrong.
Yeah. And you know, you just see us. We have a whole incredible crew backstage who work really hard for 2 weeks, doing all the lights, all the costumes, making sure everything's there for us. So they're the like heroes behind the scenes that without them, we could never do this.
And one job I forgot to mention earlier when I was mentioning all the possible jobs was our props master, whose name is Teresa. She is in charge of like so much for the show, as you can imagine, all the hat boxes and the iron and rigging the sewing table. And I mean, it's just amazing. And our director always had new ideas every day. And even in this one, I mean, we're breaking yardsticks and we have fabric. And so it's pretty cool. And that's a whole job. And Teresa does amazing work. And the details that she does, it's so amazing. And things that you'll never see because of how far away you are. But she puts so much detail. The bottle I drank from, she made a custom label that's, it's funny and it has Rossini's picture on it and it says it's Rossini bourbon and stuff. I mean, she's just so brilliant, and so I wanted to give a shout out to Teresa. Question?
So I wanted to ask, like, who are some of your guys' like favorite opera singers that you use as role models that you kind of use to take inspiration from for your voice?
I'll start it. My favorite tenor is Nikolai Gedda.
Nikolai Gedda.
My absolute favorite mezzo-soprano is an older mezzo-soprano named Giulietta Simeonato, and she is amazing! Look her up.
My favorite Rossini tenor is a guy named Bruce Ford, who now lives in Florida, but he's pretty awesome.
My favorite conductor is Karajan, but my favorite singer, hard to say favorite, but I love hearing Diana Damrau.
Favorite to listen to is Maria Callas. Go look up Maria Callas. Singer that I look up to, I would say either Simon Kingsley side or Alessandro Corbelli, who is a master at this buffo baritone stuff that I do.
I am a huge fan of Kathleen Paddle. I just think, since I was in high school, I really thought she just has the most ethereal, magical, beautiful voice. But of course, I love lots of singers.
I do love Pavarotti, and so does everybody else. But my favorite person of my voice type is Bryn Terfel. He's Welsh. He's amazing. He can sing anything.
My favorite deceased is Joan Sutherland. everyone respect Joe. And then similar to what Alexis was saying about Genesis stories, my favorite living singer is Renee Fleming. And yes, she's my favorite. Okay, we have time for 2 more quick questions, and here we go.
I have a question for Matthew. Do you know where you got your shoes from?
Our amazing costumers found these for me, and sometimes your costume can help you find your character. Like, when I put on these shoes, I felt how, like, dandy this guy was and just how full of himself was. Also, you know, the mustache, I've been compared to Mr. Gomez from the Addams Family, Michael Cera, the guy from the Tapatio bottle with the mustache. So, the costuming was all fantastic for the show, and I think it helped us all get into character.
Okay, one last question.
Hi, I wondered if any of you would be willing to share maybe a moment when you goofed up on stage in your career.
Not from today. No, I'm joking.
Since I was waiting on, I was doing Carmen in New York City Opera, and the Mercedes is supposed to take a shawl around my back and move me into her. And she did, but it got stuck on my neck, and she pulled, and my wig fell off. True story. And it landed right on my shoulder, and I'm singing, and a chorus person put it on, but sideways. And the girls are laughing so hard. George Manahan is conducting the card trio, giving cues, and no one's singing. And my aunt happened to be in the audience that same night. Dad, I think your wig fell off. Yes, it did.
Any other stories?
I ripped my pants once. Yeah, just was doing some dance moves, got up the ground really fast, and yeah, ripped my pants in front of like 1,000 people, and I don't get embarrassed anymore.
Don't take yourself too seriously. Well, I have one question for the teachers, and that is, I hope that you are going to come and see us again in February. We'll be doing An American Dream, which is a contemporary opera by Jack Perla and Jessica Murphy-New, and that will be here on February the 16th. Thank you. It's a Thursday, and I hope to see all of you back to see a completely different type of opera. You know, people often like to just take opera and put it in one box, and everyone says, oh, I like opera, or I don't. And there are operas that each and every one of us hate. There are operas that we all love. And it's just like any other genre of art. You don't like every painting you see, you don't like every show that you watch, every movie that you see, but I hope that you'll start to see that opera is so much more than just one thing, and it's a great way of storytelling, it's a great way to connect with people, both the voice on stage, but also being in a theater, experiencing music live together as a community with your fellow students and your teachers. It's a very special moment that I hope you got a taste of today and that you appreciated. Also, if you have any other questions, your teachers know how to email me. Feel free to pass them along. I will get you an answer. Stacy, our customer, is not here. Otherwise, I'd let you know where those shoes came from. But yeah, and so I want to thank you all for being here so much. And once again, bravi to the cast and to